The three biggest things that I want you to take away from this video is to understand that it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, it's going to take a lot of discipline, and it's going to take a lot of mental work, especially for you as an individual. Those are the three things that I'm going to tell you as categories to focus on. And what is going on, you guys? A21 Mayo here, and in today's video, we're going to be having ourselves another viewer VOD review video. Now, before we actually jump into the VOD itself, I quickly want to mention that 50% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you guys have not hit that sub button already, I would really appreciate it. I also want to mention that I'm doing coaching, so if you guys want to have a one-on-one coaching session with me or a VOD review session like this one here, but is much more in-depth, there's a link to my Patreon down below in the description where you can find all of the info you need and more by scrolling to the bottom of the page. There's also a review section in my Discord. There's a chat room where clients leave their reviews of the coaching sessions. So if you guys are a little skeptical and don't want to commit the money or you're not sure, there's reviews over there. So that way you can make your own opinion on whether you want to commit to it or not. And lastly, I want to mention that I have a second channel. So if you guys want to see more content from me, there's a link to that in the description below as well. But with all of that being said, let's jump into the VOD. So as you guys can tell by the title already, this viewer is wanting to go pro once he turns 18. So currently, I believe he's 14 or 15. Just a little rule of thumb for you as the viewer. Don't worry about, mechanics or anything like that. The most important thing that you need to worry about when it comes to you wanting to go pro in these upcoming years when you turn 18 is your mindset. Because over the years of you playing the game, you and your mechanics will evolve to a certain point where you don't really need to focus on them anymore. I'm not saying, don't work on them, but I'm just saying that throughout the years of you playing, those mechanics will only increase. So, don't worry about that solely. What I want you to focus on just as much as your mechanics is your mentality, because your mental state and your positivity and everything that goes into the game is just going to be it's going to be needed to be 10 times better than what it is right now. And it needs to be in a positive state. So make sure that you work on your mentality. That's the biggest thing that I'm going to tell you, just as an overall kind of tip for you wanting to go pro in the upcoming years when you do turn 18. So keep that in mind. Super important.
He's in gay car.
He's kept this side. He jumped kept it.
This is way too much face checking here. So currently they're trying to roam clear a vigil. You hear him drop cafe. That's a good pickup on the audio cue there. If you want to keep face checking this, don't, just because face checking isn't a good thing to do. You're kind of falling into that habit just by, the first 40 seconds of me watching you play. I can tell that a lot of face checking is going to be happening, so break that habit. It's going to be much more worth it in the long run, trust me. But if you want to commit to doing something like this, use the map's engineering to your advantage. So if you crouch here, the Melusi can't see you, right? Because there's the boxes behind you, cutting off that line of sight from the waiting hallway. Another thing you can do in this situation is use your Zofia stuns. Guys, if you want to play Zofia or you already play her, use your Zofia stuns, because if you want to face check something, just don't. Especially when you have a drone or a Zofia stun to your ability to clear an area of the map or give you information on it. Use that always, because that's going to minimize the fact of you being shot and killed like you just did here by you just face checking. You have 2 Zofia stuns on you right now. You can very easily Zofia stun top yellow stairs and then Zofia stun towards waiting where the Melusi is. Face checking is the last resort to getting information in an area. It should always be that, because it's going to just immediately increase the risk factor versus you using your Zofia stuns, right? So you got to break the habit of face checking here. Oh, I don't know what you're doing here. This happened last round as well. We were just like flicking all over the place. You gotta break this habit too, my man. I don't know what's going on here. You are just like flicking all over the place. Like it looks like you're having a seizure while you're playing. Like, what are you doing?
Where?
Oh man, you gotta break that habit. Oh, you just... I don't know how else to put it besides... Stop doing that. Just stop.
Yo, can someone hold a camera for me?
Alright, this is really important here. So, your teammate just said, can someone hold drone 1 for me? You get... And then your teammate says, cafe's clear, there's a guy on ping. If your teammate's going to be joining an area of the map like this where it's super important to get this map control, you need to be taking advantage of it. Don't worry about getting on drone 1 or wherever this drone is, because if cafe's clear, take advantage of that and take that map control. Super important, because now if this drone gets shot by your teammate that's joining you in, or if, you know, then you just guys have to re-drone it, right? Which is just wasted time, energy, and also a drone. So, you know, if you see your teammate droning you in, and you know that they're droning you in and he's giving calls on, you know, what's clear and what's not in cafe, then take advantage of that. Because if you guys want to do a arcade take, getting cafe control is one of the first steps in map control. And if it's being given up like this, super free, then take advantage of that and take that map control. Super important that you pick up on something like this on any map, really, for that matter. Not even just theme park in this situation, any map.
I'm watching you yellow. It's not yellow anymore.
One's waiting to it.
You're overextending here and putting yourself in a really bad spot, and you just die because of this. So if you guys are in a 2v5, your teammate gets a pick. Now you've swung into the enemy, and now you're playing their game instead of you playing your own. Because now you've put yourself in a situation where you have to fight your way out. And also, you advancing here, or just exposing yourself to more angles, is something you should never do. If you're in a clutch situation or in a situation where there's a man deficit, like this severe, where it's a 2v5 or a 2v4 now, you need to be taking the gunfights that are being presented to you. So this gunfight that you should be taking is this one on Jaeger. Because you got scared, so to speak. You strafed into their angle and their map control, and now you have to fight your way out of the map control. And you did all of this by making one decision of pushing up and crossing. So you need to be taking this gunfight directly onto the Jaeger instead of trying to cross to the left and then playing on the vending machine. Because you just put yourself in a horrible position.
That was a weird round. I feel like we kind of had to push up there, because if I didn't do that, then we would have sat there the whole entire time, so... I feel like I kind of did my job as an entry there, gaining that control, but I also lost my gunfight against the Jaegers, so...
Okay, so two things here. Firstly, you didn't do your job as an entry because you're not taking the initial step of map control into the map where your teammate's droning you in. Yet, you did the opposite thing of an entry and got on a drone while you're being actively droned in. Never do that. If someone's droning you in, take advantage of that teammate droning you in. Also, as an entry fragger, you aren't there to get kills. If you guys have not watched my role breakdown or every single role explained in Rainbow Six Siege, go watch that video. I posted it like 3 or 4 days before this one here that you're watching now. Go watch that video. I break down every single role in Rainbow Six Siege and what they should be expected to do. Just to give kind of cliff notes here, an entry fragger isn't there to get kills. He is there to get the initial piece of map control. Understand this. You have a complete and utter fractured perspective on how an entry fragger is supposed to be played. And as for you and the Jaeger gunfight, you just put yourself in a horrible position. You pushed up, not taking advantage of him peeking into you, and you played not angry, but scared to take the gunfight. You were afraid because whatever reason, and the reason I know you're afraid is because, one, you weren't confident in your shots because you wouldn't have crossed, and two, the reason you were afraid is because you hid, you didn't stand your ground. Your perspective and understanding of the entry fragging role is completely diluted. Like, it just, you understand everything that is wrong when it comes to an entry fragger. You know very little about what to actually do as an entry fragger. Yeah, you know, keep in mind the situation that you were put in, a 2v5, 2v4, whatever it was. Yeah, sure, but at the end of the day, you're not really there to be an entry fragger. You're just there to frag. It doesn't matter if you're a Mav, if you're a Thermite, if you're whoever it is. If you have a gun, you have the ability to frag because you need the frags. You don't want to be in a 2v5 and try to plant, right? And, you know, utility is going to come after making that man count even by that point because you need to work a pick or two because you desperately need it because you're in a 2v5, right? So the whole thing with being an entry fragger in a 2v5 just goes out the window. You just need to be a fragger. You need to be able to win your ones to make that man count even or at least close to it. Remember how I said earlier in the VOD, even before I watched this, that your mentality and your state of mind is going to be your number one enemy and your number one should be your number one focus throughout this point in time as a player up until the point where you want to be pro. It's crazy how I think about these things and I know these things even before I watch the VOD because I speak with experience. I don't speak just to lie to you guys or whatever. I speak and teach because I speak from experience. And I know for a fact that your mentality and your state of mind and the way you look at things needs to be completely changed. Don't worry about mechanics. Don't worry about aim. Don't worry about anything when it comes to looking like a good player. Be a good player. Okay, if you hear this guy get on cams and you make the decision to look for the drone, you either need to leave or not swing into him because they're, you know, I mean, just to play the situation out, you died to it. So you either need to take advantage of him being on a cam and nitro cell this guy because there's only a few places he can be, and you also have a nitro cell, right? You're bandit, you haven't used your nitro there. It's right there at the bottom. You still have your nitro. There's only a few places he can be. And based off audio propagation, you know he's not close on the wall. So if you swing fully and clear the room while he's on a drone, then that will tell you that he's only in one spot, which is behind the control stack, which is a free nitro cell kill, right? So either make the commitment of killing that guy and taking advantage of the fact that he's on drone based off audio cue, or shoot his drone, then give him that map control, and then just keep falling back inch by inch, because you as a roamer, you're not there to wide swing someone when you feel you want to, because now you're dead, and now instead of it being an even man count with a minute 50 lift, now it's a 3v4 with a minute 50. So you just gave the attackers, one of the two people who are upstairs, free because you died. So understand that you need to make a decision there of whether or not you want to commit because you were halfway in the door and halfway out.
My big thing is, I'm a consistent plat 2. However, I'm just not capable of competing when it comes to like diamond champion level players, just players that are like better than me. And it's like I've been playing Siege like daily for a year, and obviously there's been improvement. My first season I was around silver, second season I was and then second season I shot with plat 2. However, there really hasn't been any other improvement since then.
So basically what I'm getting from this is that you're not feeling confident in yourself, because you went from not being able to compete to champions to going from silver to plat 2 from a season. Again, this goes back to your state of mind, your everything, your mentality. Again, it's funny how I say these things even before I know anything about the VOD. I know if your number one goal long term is to be a pro player, I know right off the bat that if you're submitting a VOD to me, your mentality and your state of mind is going to be one of your biggest enemies. So when it comes to playing this game, you've only been playing for a year, which is not a long time at all. Once you start getting around to the 3-year mark, the 4-year, the 5-year, even me myself, I've been playing this game for roughly 3 years, 3.5 years. I still have a lot to learn. I'm still a baby compared to some of the titans in this game, so to speak, that have been playing for 10,000 plus hours. Like, I still have a lot to learn, and I know that. And the thing that separates me from other players, and this is, I don't want to say ego aside, but just kind of detaching my emotions from the situation, is I know that I'm willing to sacrifice more than other people, and I'm going to have more self-discipline. No matter if it's today, if it's tomorrow, if it's a week from now, a month, 6 months, a year, 10 years, whatever the time frame is. I know long term I'm willing to sacrifice more and be more self-disciplined than other people. And you want to know why that is? It's because of my mentality, my state of mind, the way I look at the game, the way I feel about the game. Everything comes from your mind. So if you are unable to have the self-discipline of controlling the way you feel or act, and yes, we're human at the end of the day. Emotions play a large part in all of it, but at the end of the day, if you can't control them and you can't have self-discipline to a certain degree, then your whole objective here needs to be completely relooked at, because if you lack self-discipline, your main goal at this point should be to allow yourself to discipline yourself and enforce that self-discipline, or else it's going to take you much longer than you think it is just to get to where you want to be, which is eventually and hopefully Pro League. You need to reinforce and enforce the self-discipline within yourself and your mentality. So just a little recap here. He keeps talking throughout the VOD in between the like the selection phase and all that, like the operator pick phase and all that. And he keeps bringing up rank a lot. And he just said the biggest thing that I took away from his whole talk was he doesn't feel comfortable or confident in higher elo whenever he goes up against champs or diamonds. If you want to be a competitive player, like, rank doesn't mean shit, man. Like, whenever I go up against a pro player or a diamond or champ, whoever it is, I don't care. I don't care what rank you are, where you come from, or where whatever it is. I'm there to win, and I'll do whatever it takes to win. You know, and of course I'm going to make mistakes, and my teammates are going to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, people make mistakes, and the biggest thing that I want you to take away from this is rank. Why rank does not matter at all. Like, you are allowing other people's ranks to make you feel pressured and intimidated. Rank doesn't matter at all. What does someone's rank mean to you? Just like, what does someone's social status mean to you, or friend group, or whatever it is, right? None of that matters at the end of the day. What matters is you. And you are struggling. And what are you struggling with? The intimidation factor of you playing against champions, diamonds, plat ones, whatever you're talking about in these talks between rounds. You gotta break that mentality. Remember, that mentality of ranks and that intimidation factor. All right, that's pretty much the end of the VOD there. He hasn't he didn't really do much the past 2 rounds. He kind of just sat in sight, shot drones, didn't take any gunfights. So yeah, you know, remember what I said, because if you're seriously wanting to take competitive play seriously, and I chased that that dream, so to speak, for a long time, and it eventually didn't work out for me. You know, I could have fixed mistakes along the way. I could have been a better player, but at the end of the day, and especially now that I've reflected on that past, it just wasn't for me. And I'm not saying that, you know, comp play isn't for you, or, you know, you're not going to make it into pro league, because I hope the best for you, you know. But understand that it's going to take a lot of discipline and a lot of sacrifice. Those are the 2 biggest things that, actually, no, the 3 biggest things that I want you to take away from this video is to understand that it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, it's going to take a lot of discipline, and it's going to take a lot of mental work, especially for you as an individual. Those are the 3 things that I'm going to tell you as categories to focus on. And if you need a recap on that, watch the video again. And then I'm just speaking for the view. I mean, if you guys want to watch the video again, hey, do it. Helps out with the YouTube algorithm. You want to know what else helps out with the YouTube algorithm? Liking the video and subbing. That also helps with the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. But if you're willing to make those sacrifices and those changes and that work that you're going to have to put in, it'll be worth it in the long run. It just comes down to, again, how much you're willing to sacrifice and put in back to yourself. But with all of that being said, that is the end of the VOD. But before I go, I want to mention one more time that 50% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you guys have not hit that sub button already, I would really appreciate it. I also want to mention that I'm doing coaching. So if you guys want, you know, a session like this that's very similar, but goes into much more depth, you know, this video is around 30 minutes or so in the recording. I'm sure the VOD or the video itself will probably be 20 minutes, 24 minutes, around there. So yeah, if you want double this, consider, you know, getting a coaching session. I have different tiers, different price points, all that good stuff. So yeah, also I do consulting as well, or just advice, you know, one-on-one talks or VOD reviews or whatever it is. You know, check out the Patreon. There's a link to it down below in the description if you guys are interested. And one more thing, I have a second channel, so if you guys want to see more content from me, there's a link to the second channel down below, as well as a link to the Wichita Wolves, which I am a content creator for. So if you guys want to go show them some support, that is my org. I love those dudes over there, so make sure you guys go drop them a follow, hit their social media up. But with all of that being said, hope you guys enjoyed, we learned something new, and I will see you guys in the next video.